Hi everybody, it's Jackie from Myers Stitch and Post, and I'm back once again with my second video with helpful tips on how to get started with your quilting. Our first video we covered off just how to store your fabric. Secondly, we are here today to show you how to cut properly. This is one of those things that just scares me every time I see it. Now I have here an Omni Grip 8.5 by 24 inch ruler. It just happens to be the ruler that I like, and I like the clear markings on it. And most quilting rulers will have hash marks on their rulers in 1/8 of an inch increments. So all the little black lines that you see on this ruler are 1/8 increments. And then we have larger dash lines for the quarters, halves, 3/4, and then the large solid black lines for your 1 inch. So you can cut very accurately if you use your ruler. Now, I'd like to get started and show you the very first thing that you have to do when you purchase your fabric from your favorite quilt shop is to make sure that this raw edge is square. Now, it may look very square when you take it home, but it generally isn't. Most of us will wash our fabric before we start using it. Now, I am a right-handed cutter, so I will demonstrate cutting the right-handed way. And then we'll come back and we'll quickly do this as a left-handed cutter, because I know some of you may be left-handed. So in order to square this fabric up, because I am right-handed, I need to take this raw edge and put it over here on my right-handed side. So I'm simply going to turn my bolt of fabric around. If you have a mat that is portable, you can just twist your mat. That's the easiest way to do it. Now I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm simply going to lay one of my solid lines on my fold line on my fabric. And if you look, you'll see, although it looks straight, it really isn't straight. So I am going to just trim that off so that I have a nice straight line. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my rotary cutter, and I know there's many out there. This happens to be the one I use. This rotary cutter can be used if you're left-handed or right-handed. You'll notice there's a little ridge. Every rotary cutter has that ridge. And this ridge is the resting point for your index finger. And it's just human kinetics. The where your pointing finger goes, or your index finger goes, your eyes go. It's just the way we're wired. Now I'm going to start by exposing my blade. And I'm going to palm my rotary cutter in my hand, and I'm going to rest my driving finger or my index finger on that little rough area on the rotary cutter. And what that does is it eliminates a lot of stress in my wrist. It mitigates a lot of the stress that you'll find in the wrist area here, especially those of you who suffer from carpal tunnel disease. So I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and I'm going to lay my fingers on my ruler, and I'm going to start here. See how my ruler overhangs? I want to start my rotary cutter, and I'm going to start cutting, and I'm going to pause, and I'm going to crawl my ruler, my hand up the ruler, and I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep going right the way through to the end. And once I've done that, I remove that small piece of fabric. Now, one of the things I see people doing is they don't move their hand. They leave it here. And if I show you on the mat here, and I leave my hand right there, as I move my ruler, my rotary cutter up the ruler, can you see the ruler moving? It moves off. Then I've seen people that do this, and that kind of gives you a pivot point like this. Or I see this. Well, what happens here is a lot of ladies out there have blouses with short sleeves because they get in the way. So that's not the ideal way. Again, I call it my spider fingers, and I like to move my hand up the ruler. Once I have my square edge, I'm going to very, very carefully rotate my fabric. And I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to start by cutting some 2.5 inch strips. So there's my 2.5 inch mark. I'm simply going to lay it on the fabric. All right, 1, 2.5 inches. I'm going to take my rotary cutter, and again with my spider fingers I'm going to move it up. And I will continue to cut my fabrics in that fashion till I have the appropriate number of strips for my project that I'm going to work on. And that's my basic rotary cutting video, and I'd like to invite you to join us for our next video on achieving a scant 1/4 inch. This is Jackie from Myra Stitch and Post.